Warning. The following scenes may contain references to power pages and portals which some listeners may find disturbing, especially if you've struggled with poor training in the past.
Hey all, Franco Musso here. Yes, I've hacked your podcast feed. I held John and Heather hostage, but don't worry. I got my wires crossed and I'm actually paying them a small ransom in the form of sponsorship. Anyway, big announcement. I'm finally releasing my online Power Pages course. This has been 5+ years in the making, and it's tried and tested on citizen devs and portal makers all around the world. It's a course I wish existed when I was getting started. It's practical, it's hands-on, and it's project-based, so you're not left wondering, how the f*** would this apply to the real world? I've built in battle-tested lessons I've learned from tens of successful portal projects across various industries, budgets, and geographies. And I've formulated the most efficient route from zero to heroic launch. The tools and techniques I've chosen to show you are all based on what has the most value to you, the learner, and to your customers, all in the most compressed timeline possible. Think 80-20, focusing on the techniques that punch above their weight and deliver the majority of results. You'll get video lessons, a repeatable framework, and some super helpful workbooks. I'll also throw in my decision flows. It's going to be the closest thing you can get to having an expert on hand or being able to peek over my shoulder while I work. Interested? Visit francomusso.com/power-pages-course and secure your spot today. Disclaimer, this course isn't for you if you prefer hours of slides, theory, and little to no action. You can now take your fingers out of your ears and enjoy the awesome that is Sprint Zero.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sprint Zero podcast. I'm here with my wife this time.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome. And we've also got lots of lovely guests, and of course, my lovely co-host Heather, Annabel, Sarah, and Emma as well. Emma Claire Shaw was coming, but unfortunately, she can't make it tonight, which is fair enough. So I'm going to pass over to Heather to kind of explain what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, thank you so much. So excited. So this is my, I think, John, this is officially my first idea for a podcast special.
It is, yeah.
And I'm glad that you are all here to be part of this, because I thought, what a great way for us to celebrate International Women's Day. So this is our International Women's Day special. For anybody who's not familiar with what that is, it's a global movement, right? And I love things that are global because it ties us all together, no matter where we're from. And it's to celebrate the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. But it also is there so that we can recognize that this is the progress towards gender equality is ongoing, and it requires all of us. And I was particularly excited this year because the theme is give to gain. And that's to remind us that when we invest in women through mentorship, opportunity, allyship, advocacy, we don't just create individual success stories, right? We build stronger workplaces, stronger communities, and a more equal society for everybody. So today, we have a brilliant panel of voices to reflect on the women who have shaped us, the support that has helped us grow, and then what we can do to keep moving equality forward, not just today, but every day. So with that, John, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's just do some introductions first of all. I'll come to you in a bit. Okay. Annabel, I'll come to you first. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're here and how you know Heather?
Oh, yes. My name is Annabel, like you've already mentioned. I know Heather because she's my practice lead. I work at Trustmark Solutions as a Power Platform Technical Specialist. And I really love the role I feel in because I get to bring meaningful solutions to companies to make their everyday life better. Because for me, it's not just about deploying solutions or building solutions. It's about building solutions that will be able to impact the business and make the business grow. And in my own little way, I'm able to channel change.
Lovely. And
You guys, you see why she's on my team,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because she's amazing. And I'm like, I have to have this woman.
And
Yeah.
Annabel, could you share a woman either in history or public life or your own life who's inspired you and why?
Okay. So in my life, a woman that has always inspired me is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She's a writer, and I knew her since I was like 14, even before I knew what being a professional writer was. And one thing about her that I've always loved is that she has always been true to herself. And so she has evolved over time and become a different person, like be faced with different aspects of life and different challenges in life. But she maintains her authentic core and she's able to go to certain rooms and not need to shrink herself. And so she's also vocal, whatever she's vocal of when she's in a smaller room, she also maintains her stand when she's in a bigger room. And so that helps me carry that authenticity also. So I don't have to shrink myself. I'm able to show up the way I am. That doesn't mean I don't grow, or that doesn't mean I don't see room for improvement. But it also means that I'm able to be authentic in every way I show up.
Very nice.
Love that.
Thank you very
I
much.
love that.
Sarah, over to you next. How you doing? And do you want to kind of introduce yourself a little bit and tell us someone that's a woman in your life, whether that's in history or your life, that really means something to you?
So hi, the Amazon man's just come to the door as you've come to me.
Yeah.
I think it's been looked after. So I'm Sarah Jones, and I have recently set up my own business, Liberty Careers, to try and help people on their career journeys, which is ever changing and more rapidly than ever, I think, at the moment. So I was thinking about who's inspired me. And I was thinking about all these women that I've met through the Microsoft community. And Heather, I know you've got Annabel here from your team. I know you won't hire without interviewing women or screening women. It's like non-negotiable. I love that about you. Well, I'm going to be really cheesy and go for my mom, right? Because she's worked really hard. She made a mistake that I think one or two of us may have made, and settled down a bit young and not particularly got qualified. And with 3 children under 10, worked her way out of a situation that she didn't want to be in anymore. So she got a degree. She got 2 master's degrees. She went and got a job.
Yeah.
She really regained her independence with 3 young kids, and which is why I'm a great swimmer. She put us in swimming clubs for a few nights a week while she did her masters. But yeah, I think that's really inspiring. She kept dignified. She's never spoken badly of anybody. I've never heard her kind of lose her dignity. She's made me a hard worker through seeing that. You learn through that osmosis of looking up to your mom, if you're lucky enough to have one. She's got great taste in music as well. So she's given me a lot, and I hope a good moral standing as well.
Nice. Thank you very much.
I think I love your mom too. I've never met her, but she sounds amazing. Like absolutely
Incredible.
amazing.
Katie?
She's also a little bit mischievous, so yeah, I've got that too.
Okay. Lovely. Yeah, you've definitely got a mischievous side, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Emma, do you wanna introduce
Hello.
yourself, and same question to you, someone that means a lot, a woman in your life or in history or whatever?
Okay, so I am in my 50s. I've got almost 3 grown-up children who like to give me their opinions on a daily basis. 2 dogs that are more like the children than the children. And yeah, I've been in IT since I was 17. So I didn't really do the whole A-levels and degrees and everything else. I went straight to work and was a COBOL programmer in the late 80s. I've done nearly anything you can imagine that's customer facing from an IT perspective. I've not always been good at it, but I've done everything. And yeah, I joined Capgemini recently as a solution architect for Dynamics and Power Platform, mainly because I really love solving problems. I love looking at something and trying to work out where the gap is and work out what I can do to fix it. I'm working with people, working with the customers, doing consultancy and workshops. I'm happiest when I've got a whiteboard and a pen in my hand. That's like my happy place.
Yeah, it is your happy
So,
place. That's where we kind of met in person for the very first time.
Yeah, John
Yeah, I
has seen
love
me in
it.
action with a whiteboard. So, and as for women, I also had written down my mum. So maybe not so cheesy, Sarah. So I actually lost my mum last year. But she always really inspired me. And when I was very young, and she was the 70s, and she was, just because you're a girl doesn't mean you can't do anything you want to do. And she was always really clear with us that, you know, your gender didn't make any difference. You could be anything if you put your mind to it. But she was also a real survivor. She had been forced to leave school early, had done various jobs, you know, sometimes 2 or 3 jobs at a time to help us pay the bills while we were growing up. And then in her 40s, went to university, had to sit maths and English GCSE because she didn't have anything, and actually became a social worker and had like a 20-year career as a social worker helping children. So just massively inspiring, but also she had a lot of things that happened to her over the years. And she sort of taught me, she used to have this phrase, she'd say, I'm not strong, I'm a survivor. And I think as I've grown and as I've had things that I've had to deal with, and I had a year last year that was like the year from hell, it's been a constant reminder that, you know, we can sort of get through anything. We've got our friends, we've got our family, we pick ourselves up and we get on with it. And I think that ability to be resilient and positive, I think that comes from my mum, because that was her attitude.
And
So
that is
yeah,
strong. She is strong.
Amazing sounding mum, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
she was something else. She was a force to be reckoned with.
As are you.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you. Katie.
Hello. Do I have to introduce myself?
Well, yeah, I think so, because there's other people watching, right?
Well, I am John's wife, Katie. We met online
Yeah.
when it was still a bit, I don't know, still a bit.
Yeah. Still a bit
didn't really
risky.
talk about it as much.
It was before Tinder, which is, you know, good news for
Glad.
Tinder, because
Yeah.
I would have brought that site down.
Anyway, they don't know the whole story, but that's the women. And yeah, so he made a good choice and married me. Well done. And I went around the houses massively about the one woman. I changed my mind so many times, and then I thought, you know, actually, I'm going to go a bit left field with my answer. And I'd read this article recently about how women are still being massively overlooked in the workplace because of their gender, and men get given promotions more easily. And from my background, I've got an education background, because most staff members in primary schools particularly are women. Men are always the ones who come in, even as new teachers, and get promoted above the women. They become the deputy heads or the head of department before the women who've been there 5 years before them. And that got me thinking. And then I came across randomly this article about women in history. And I'm not going to read all the names because it's boring for everyone, I'm sure. But I randomly found this list of items that have been invented by women, but people assume they were invented by men, because when they were, at the time they were invented, they were either stolen by a man in the workplace where the women had invented them, or it was still the day where to get a patent on a product, you either had to go with your husband to have it signed or with a co-worker to have it signed, and they just signed their name. So things like, I discovered Monopoly was invented by a woman, but assumed it was invented by a man. Windscreen wipers, the first computer algorithm, crucial work on the double helix, disposable nappies, bras, glass aquariums, and coffee filters were all women's inventions that were stolen by men. So I've kind of gone for a group of women rather than one particular.
Yeah, fair enough.
I love that.
And I just say, bless the woman who invented coffee filters, because that's my life. I mean,
And the bra.
And the
and the
bra.
bra. Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Heather, do you wanna answer this, and then you can flip it back this way?
Yeah, I think so. So I thought about this too, and I've really worked hard, I would say, the past decade to really embrace the women in my life, that because they've just taught me so much, and I don't think I always appreciated that when I was younger. I think I was really competitive, and I didn't always appreciate how we could lift each other up, and that's why I might get emotional at this point, just to let you know. But that's why this month's theme means so much to me, because my life has improved so much since I've flipped the script and said, you know what, I'm not competing with women. We're all going to work together, and we're going to succeed together, and we're going to lift each other, and we can do this. And I kind of hope she doesn't listen to this, because she's going to make fun of me for being emotional. But my bestie is one of the most amazing women I've ever met in my life, and she has taught me so much. She is a Black woman in America in tech, and that is not always easy. just to let you know, because that's where that intersectionality comes into place. So it's not, you have all these things that are really challenging sometimes to overcome. And I remember this situation. We used to work together. I remember the situation where she was called in the office. Somebody had made a really silly complaint about her that wasn't justified, and she's being told off and getting this feedback. And I thought, gosh, if I was her right now, I'd be so pissed off. Am I allowed to say pissed off, John?
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
if I'm
yeah.
allowed to say pissed
So,
off. Okay.
if you
I'd
like,
be so pissed off, right? I would be like, because it was just ridiculous. And I'm really being called in to manage her. And I watched her and I watched her face and I was like, yeah, she's pissed. I would be too. But then suddenly I watched her face change and I watched her put her hands in her lap and she just said, okay, thank you. Understood. And it was like, what did she just do? Like, what did she just do? Because she just made this power move without making it feel like a power move. And we've had lots of conversations since then. She's really taught me that if you know who you are, it doesn't actually matter what anybody comes at you with, right? It doesn't actually matter. And she used to say, you could say anything to her. You could be, I'm so mad at you. I think you're a terrible person. And she would just look at you and go, and that's okay. And then she would walk on with her day, right? And so whenever I'm really struggling, especially with something that I find unjust, or I feel like I'm being judged inappropriately, I think back to that conversation where she just, that's okay. That's fine. It's okay. And I move on with my day. So obviously she's my bestie, so there's a lot of stuff I can't talk about on a podcast, but let's just say she's amazing. She's absolutely freaking amazing. John, you're surrounded by women, which you find yourself in this position a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I
Like
do.
you just have lots of
Yeah.
us around.
life.
Yeah.
And like Katie's like, yep, it's just what happens. You've got these two daughters, you've got this amazing wife. What do you think about a woman who's really changed, inspired you in your life?
So, yeah, I'm going to go probably a little bit more cheesy than Sarah. And I'm going to say you.
Stop.
Do you know why I say you? And I'm going to try and not get emotional either. Is that Katie is there for me all the time. Like, I've had real struggles with mental health about like 8 years ago, something like that. And she was always kind of with me through that. She just knows how to ask the questions that need to be asked. She inspired me to become the lead of the mental health first aiders at A&S when I was there, and also inspired the back of the hoodies that we all had, which was just a question asking, how are you? Because that's always something that she would start with. Yeah, she's just she's just a very special person to me, and I'm very lucky that she's my soulmate. So yeah.
Thank you. I will do your dinner
All
tonight.
Yeah.
I love that, John.
Yeah.
I love it.
So we're gonna do like a bit of a panel discussion. So Sarah and Emma, who has given to you in your journey, and how did that support help you gain confidence or opportunities?
Shall I go first, Sarah? Do you want to go first?
Yeah,
What do
you go
think?
ahead. Yeah, in case I can copy something from you.
I told you I made
Have
notes
at
for
it.
this. I really struggled with this because I couldn't think of, one or two specific people. And I've had quite a long career now. I think I'm up to 37 years in IT, which is a little bit scary. But I think actually I've been really lucky. I've had some fantastic managers and colleagues that have either pushed me in quite a mean way to step out of my comfort zone, but I don't think there are things that I wouldn't have tried if I hadn't been forced. And the idea that actually, even if you try it and you're rubbish and it goes horribly wrong, well, then we know that you that's not for you, right? That's maybe not your forte. And I think you have those kinds of experiences, and the ones that work, you sort of come back and go, oh, actually, I quite enjoyed that, or that wasn't the end of the world. Nobody died, and the guy didn't fall in. And that actually I am capable of these things that I didn't realize. So I think I've been really lucky. I mean, I've also had, and I'm not going to name names. I can later if I need to, but there was one guy in particular who just was unflinchingly supportive at a time when I was in a team that was like almost support, IT support and apps. And it was like the whole rest of the company just hated IT because nothing worked and everything was terrible. And he would have stand-up rows with people on my behalf. And then we'd have a very honest and open conversation about whatever had happened. And so it got to the point where I could go to him and say, oh my God, this has just happened. And then when the person came down and threw a teddy out the pram, he would be there and he would back me 100%. And so I think that taught me a lot about being really transparent, about being open, about not having to hide how I felt or having to be on my best behavior. So I think something you said earlier, Annabelle, about authenticity, sort of being me and not trying to fit in what is still a fairly male environment sometimes. So yeah, and I think the last thing I would say is that in the last few years, because mentorship wasn't really a thing in 1989, it wasn't a word. But in the last few years, I've been really lucky that I've met a number of men and women that have been, more successful than me, maybe career-wise, but have given me their time and have just been there for me to ring them up, ask their advice. This has happened. What should I do about that? How should I approach this? And have just almost enabled me to step back and reflect and turn things on their heads and just be there. So yeah, it feels like I've been very lucky, really. I've had a lot of support in different ways across the years.
It's nice.
Yeah. I love it.
And Sarah, same question to you. So who's given to you in your journey and how did that support help you gain confidence or other opportunities?
So I started off quite wide open as well. And I kind of took it back to when I first got involved in the Microsoft community, and just these people were, and a lot of you people on the call now were kind of wanting to embrace what I was doing and come to speak at events or support events. And, all these people from different backgrounds and areas. And I went to Scottish Summit last year, which was amazing, pretty life-changing, and having felt lost in a business that I didn't feel I belonged, I didn't connect. I felt like I was in a work party. I felt like I was with my people. I was like, it was great, and a lot changed for me at that conference. But coming out of there, I went and worked with Will Rowe, who was a fantastic person to work with.
Even though you got your name wrong all the time.
God, I forgot about that. Zara. Yeah. Yeah. He's such a great guy. Like, and in recruitment and this industry, there's a lot of greedy people that own businesses, and he's not one of them. And I'll always have a lot of time for him. And he knew full well at the time that I was thinking of running my own thing, should I, can I? And I always had that kind of suppressed feeling of I can't, I can't do it. And roll on to Dynamics Minds and went for dinner with Meg and Mark Smith. And me and Meg kind of hit it off straight away, like me and you, like Heather, it was kind of instant, like, woo. And then Mark gets involved and starts holding me to account. Where are you going to be this time next year? What are you going to do? And even just having someone like that kind of believing in me was a bit mind-blowing, really. But I set my business. Meg sent me some champagne. They promoted my services within the 90-day mentoring challenge, which is amazing, by the way. You should all take it. For all listeners, they promoted my business within that and really got me off the ground with some of their cohorts. So that was really special. And I can't leave Franco out of this bit either, because just absolutely unwavering support, any self-doubt. Yeah, John called it. Honestly, in terms of helping from the tech side of things to just absolute belief in me has just been, I wouldn't have done it. I genuinely wouldn't have done it. So yeah, those people, but there's so many, there's countless, and I'm going to kick myself after this for not mentioning other people, but they're the ones that stood out to me today when I made my notes.
Nice. Heather, over to you.
So I am going to ask, I'm sorry, Heather has ADHD, so I was on the wrong screen. Anyway, I love stories about the giving, so thank you both for sharing that. but sometimes as women, we cross into this territory where giving starts becoming invisible labor, and I feel like this has happened to me a lot. That disproportionately falls on us, and so that's like the mentoring, the organizing, the emotional support, being the go-to problem solver. Um, and this is for Katie and Annabelle. How do you balance that giving or that generosity with setting boundaries so that you don't burn yourself out and protect your own well-being?
Okay, I would answer that. As a young woman, I noticed I've always had to believe that I should be responsible for much. I should do this. I should. And so whenever people ask me, it's almost like a default answer, oh, yes. So I just keep on piling on things because I believe it's expected from me. So much so that I had to read a book last year on set boundaries, fine. That was how much bad I was with boundaries. But I found out that I would always most time go back to resentment because I have
Yeah.
so much to do, and I end up saying, "Oh, I have to do all this." Nobody told you to do all. You picked all that. And so one thing I learned is it's hard, but it's finding the balance. First of all, I have to ask myself, am I just feeling a space, or am I going to be able to make any impact at all? Do you just have a space open and you just need someone else to fill it? Did you put the thought into bringing me on board? Do you just have like a checkbox that you have to fill out and I just fit the criteria and you just put me? Number one. Number two is I also try to be true and honest to myself. I should be able to know the part that I would not book myself to the point where I break down. Because when I break down, I'll be unable to give quality service or work. And in every aspect of life, it's not just like work,
Yeah.
even the day to day life. We might feel like we're doing so much by taking on so much, but it's better. My colleague said this. He said, it's better you give 100% of your time to one person than you give 20% of what you could do to 5 different people. They don't get the best version of yourself. We should be able to go back, introspect, and say, this is my capacity. And also ask for help. It's totally fine to say, I need help. It's totally fine to reach out to people that I need help. And another thing is, no is a complete statement. It might seem hard, but no, like, I always feel like, am I really going to say yes? It's okay to say no, as crazy as it is. Because you are no use to anyone where you're not at your best. Like you're no use to anyone where you are low, where your energy is low. It's okay to feel your own cup. As women, we like to feel everyone, we like to pour on everyone. But it's okay to take our time to feel our own self, to pour on our own self. Because even people around us, they know when we are full and when we're energetic and we're able to pour better, we're able to give better. So for me, one thing I always do is I ask myself, am I just feeling a space? Or am I going to really make an impact? Does this align with my plan or my goal? Or am I just dancing around? It's okay if I'm trying to find my way, but I also have to be strategic and reasonable about it. Thirdly, I also have to believe that no is a complete statement. And people that love you would accept no. People that love you would not judge you for saying no. Fourthly, I try to fill my cup as much as I give because, like you said, give to give. I have to give to give. I have to make sure that in as much as I am giving, in as much as I'm pouring, I am okay and I am good and I am not depleted.
And that's a great
Love
answer.
that.
Am I meant to follow that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Very
know,
good.
right? It's always.
I mean,
Annabelle, by the way, we need to talk about Capgemini after, but just I'm joking.
No, you do not. Annabelle, do not talk
I'm
to
joking.
these people, okay?
Yeah. Katie, so
well,
that question
like I
to you.
said,
Yeah.
I said, I don't feel like I really follow that amazing answer. I agree with everything you said. I think it sounds like you've definitely got it nailed much more than I definitely do, maybe most people. But I think, yeah, no is definitely a complete statement, and it's also an answer. It doesn't need any more than no. I probably need to be better at that. I think finding your tribe and your person, like not trying to be too icky about the whole thing, but you know when I need time out, when I've done too much, and you just
Yeah.
say, you need to go and
And
just
you quite often you don't know that.
I don't recognize it. You recognize it first. Like, take time for yourself when you can.
Yeah.
But also, I think mainly the thing I learned in my maybe late 30s was you don't have to be friends with everyone. Not everyone will like you, and that's okay. And I find that really difficult. But I like be liked by people, but I also have learned that I actually just don't like some people, and that's okay. Like, we don't get on, and if they don't bring joy to and help to my life, then goodbye. You don't need them. Yeah, and it's okay to do that. Like, you don't have to pander to people, which I probably did do for a long time.
Yeah, and you're very good at that with me. Like I'll meet someone new, and it's like I'm like a magpie, and I'm like, oh, lovely, they're nice, and then Katie's like, yeah, yeah, and normally it does go that way. Like, it's not that I'm a bad judge of character; it's that I kind of like
You're
going
better at
all in.
wanting to be the good in people.
Yeah, exactly. I also think that we can take away from this that John is like a magpie, because that is going to come up again. I'm just letting you know, John, like that will come up again, because that is a perfect description of you. You are just so like, you're so wholesome, and you really do like people. You do see the best in people, really,
Yeah,
like everything.
Yeah.
And I think
And he
that's
champions everyone.
and I think I try and like it does sound a bit cheesy, and hopefully they can't hear me. They're probably just standing outside the door. But I do really want to set a good example for the girls. So like,
Yes.
you know, Esme and Tilly, they're 9 and 7. And I need to, you know, I need to show up for them, and I need to explain to them what is right and what is wrong. Yes, I could be maybe a little bit less black and white, and there are some grey areas that are okay, and I need to not give myself such a hard time on that front. But yeah, what I say to them a lot is, you know, being kind and generous is fundamental, and that's what I think the world needs a lot more of. And I wish there were more people that did
Yeah.
it. And if I can start at this kind of level, then, you know, maybe when they get older, they will talk to people and say, actually, you know, this is what I am first and foremost, kind and
But
generous.
also, don't take my kindness for a weakness.
Yeah, don't think of kindness. Yeah,
Absolutely.
as in, don't call me up at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're stuck in Piccadilly Circus
Well,
and
you
need
know
a
that
lift
will-
home. But
that will be you, not
that's
me.
going to happen. So another question then and this is for Katie, Emma, and Annabel. What's a challenge you think is often overlooked when we talk about women's rights and equality? And I'll go to Emma first.
Challenge that's overlooked. Oh, I definitely haven't prepped for this one.
No, I know he mixed it up on us, didn't he?
Yeah,
We're
he did.
so prepared, John, and then
Winging it is a skill.
it is a
Yeah,
skill.
yeah.
Challenge that is a challenge that is overlooked. I think for me, I think actually that women do take on so many other things outside of work, and some women want to take on those additional things, right? There's the whole, you know, making sure that we protect ourselves, that we don't say yes to too many things. Annabelle, I'm with you on that, but I do it with hobbies as well. I get all excited about all the new things I want to learn, and then I have no free time at all because I'm learning a language and painting and singing and playing D&D and all the things. So I think it's, for me, there's this whole, we want women to do better. We want equality. We want women to succeed. I would probably say work is the most important thing in my life. Some women don't want work to be the most important thing in their life, and that's fine too. That's okay. So I find it quite difficult in my head to work out, well, you know, yes, we want more women CEOs, but actually, do more women want to be CEOs? What does that do? And so I haven't got an answer for that really, but I think that is a bit of a challenge of how do we actually make that kind of work manageable and attractive and something you can do as a woman? And
it's about asking the question,
yeah.
isn't it? It's about asking the question, what do you want, rather than
assuming
you want that.
I think there's an assumption there, and especially in the IT realm, that, we all
Yes.
want to be as successful as the men. We all want to do that male job. And actually, I'm sure there are some lovely CEOs out there. I've also met some real bleeps, and
Yes.
I wouldn't want to be that person. And if that's what it takes to do that job,
Right.
then actually no.
Mm.
So I think
Sarah
it
and
is
I,
a challenge.
Sarah and I have had this talk because I'm like
Mm.
in this really happy role. I love being a practice lead. I love having a team. I love growing a business. I have zero interest in going up above that point.
Yeah.
And which is why, not plugging Sarah's business or anything, but career coaching is amazing because it helps you like realize that, right? Like maybe I'm actually in the right spot. Maybe I'm not with the right organization. That can happen sometimes, right? But I know what I love. And what I love is having people like Annabel on my team that want to grow and develop, and I can help provide those opportunities, and we can deliver great things, and we like making a difference. We're all aligned. And then when somebody's like, and I've had terrible leaders before who've kind of threatened me with it. Oh, Heather, if you ever want to get to this level, and I'm like, what makes you think I want to get to that level? Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I know where my skill is, but beyond that, I think one of the biggest lessons that we need to learn as people, but also with women, I think we do feel that pressure. We've got to keep pushing. We've got to keep pushing. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you enjoy doing it, and it's okay to say like that's not what I enjoy. I actually really enjoy
Maybe
this.
it's about how we measure success, because I mean,
Yes.
I've done something really similar. Right? I've seen women that there's a particular lady that I used to work with a few years ago who was a CEO and has actually stepped down from it. But she's such a wonderful person. She does so much work to raise people up. I was like, I would love to be that. And I decided that was what I wanted. And actually just really didn't enjoy that step into the next
Yeah.
layer of management. And in the end, I thought, why am I doing this? What I really love is solving problems. I'm going to go and solve
Yes.
problems. So I think there is this idea of, why can't I have a job at that level and still be seen as successful? Why do I need to earn all the money and have the big job title and all of those things?
What-
But like I said, I sort of sway from one side to the other in my head on this.
I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Sarah, because I know you recently started your own business and you work. So what's interesting, I think, about your business is it's not just your own perspective. You share all our business, don't you? Because we all tell everything to Sarah. When she's coaching, we're like, okay, let me tell you what I like, what I don't like, who's made me mad. I swear she has. I think you just sit back and sip all the tea that you get from us. But yeah, so from your perspective, what kind of challenges do you think is overlooked in the space of women's rights and equality?
So coming back to the conversation that's just been happening, I'll talk about my personal experience, because I was that single parent for a long time and got to pay the bills and got to push forward, and it was kind of financially motivated from needing to do it, and I had a conversation at school today with somebody who's in that situation now, and that drove everything. And I don't know whether it's someone asked me at an event the other day, what do you do? And I said, I think I'm having a midlife crisis, because everything's changed. What I measure success as now is different to what it was 5 years ago. It's not about how much commission I earn or, how well my boss thinks I'm doing. It's how balanced do I feel my life is. I am at that age where I care less what people think or say about me as well. I try and be kind and considerate to everybody first. But yeah, it's like now it's balanced for me personally. And I really energize and get a lot from doing community events. One of our babies, so the UK AI user groups, we've got an all-women committee in Manchester for the Manchester AI user group. And that call is like such a release when we get on the call every 2 weeks to talk about events. We just go, whatever. And whenever I tell women in our community about that, they say, I'd love that. That sounds amazing. I haven't got it. There's always, no offense to men. We've got great men. John, you're great. There's great men in our life, in our community that enable and empower us. And this is not to take away from men. But that call, and then an experience I had at ANS, organised by Claire Connor and Vicky, was amazing. Every woman in the room felt the same. They felt like they could be vulnerable. They didn't have to know everything. They could put their hand up and ask a silly question, and it was brilliant. Everybody came with different levels, all operational. There weren't many people like you guys, consultants and architects. It was people working in HR and sales and different jobs, and we all had this little co-pilot thing, and everyone was looking after each other. And that was great. And I think we can do more of that, I think, in businesses. And it's not to exclude men, but to give women that
Yes.
that space where they feel safe and comfortable, whether it was right or wrong or whatever people's opinion on it is, it was undoubtedly a success because of that space that they had. And just one more thing that I did make notes on this. There's something that I've noticed through this events thing, and in the time I've been hosting events and asking people to speak, men will come to us and submit sessions. And so if you go to an event organizer committee and they say, well, we've got 80% men submissions, that's because women like to build a relationship, be approached, and they like a different approach. So if you're an all-male organizing team, get someone on there. And sometimes the men, and I've had this feedback, feel like they're intimidating to approach women and ask. So get a female on the committee, or go and build that trust with female speakers, new or experienced, and approach them, because they won't approach you in the same way. There's loads more that we could talk about with equality that's outside the tech world, but I think that from what I see, those things would make a difference quite easily.
I want to comment on that. I'm going to comment on that because I have gotten involved in activities, Sarah, because you approached me and were like, Heather, these people need more women speaking. They need to move. Would you be interested in doing it? And it is exactly what you said. I was sitting back like, surely they don't want me. They don't want, like, I have nothing of value. You approached me and I'm like, oh, well, I mean, since you asked, then I'd be happy to do it. And then now, I guess that's how we put this episode together today. I said to John, he said, I'm just going to go ask people. Annabel had no idea, right? And then John's like, by the way, who's Annabel in chat? I'm like, oh yeah, I probably should have told you who she is, but she's amazing and you're going to love her. But we've got to, I love that, Sarah, because you're right. We have to approach Heather too. Sorry. This is why it'll be 4 hours.
Just gonna add to that. First of all, I love the question where you say it's all the challenges that women face that are not addressed. Because sometimes when we drum the topic on equality, some people say we've done enough. Some people say we've just started. But I would put it in 3 ways. First of all is, writing off what Ella said, is that most times some women, I'm not going to generalize, because we come into tech, and tech has been a very big all boys club, we feel like, oh, they've let us in the door, and so it's almost like we're walking on eggshells. We don't want to take up space. We don't want to speak up. We're just like, we're in the room, that's okay. And so it's for us to like say, oh no, we're in the room, we're meant to be here. We deserve to be here. We need to speak up for ourselves, and we need to advocate for other women to come in. And so most people don't know that women will face that challenge of taking up space, because we fear that we might be judged for doing too much, because it's not expected for you to exist in a second form. And that's going to go to the second point I want to say, is that I feel like another challenge women face in this era is truth. So it's difficult for us to sometimes accept that women exist in different forms. And so because women have existed in a linear form for such a long time, it's difficult to expect and believe that a woman can be multifaceted, that a person can genuinely gain so much joy from their career, and they will not even want, like, for example, building a family will not be the forefront of their idea. They gain so much joy from their career. But somebody that has the passion of building a family would never understand what the person that has the passion of building a career is. But where that really comes with like 2 bulls locking on is because we have an idea of what women's success should look like. And so if you are not so sure about what your success will look like, there's a challenge there of you feeling like maybe you're not doing enough. Because you might be in the midst of people that are genuinely happy with the family lives, and you feel like you're a failure. And then the woman that's happy, like just being social, and you are with people that have like this amazing career, And then you might feel like a failure. And I think that's because we've not come to terms with the fact that success looks different for different people, and accepting it and accepting them for who they are, the journey they decide to embark on. And lastly, it's change. It's okay for them to change their mind. I don't think more women believe that it's okay for them to change their mind. Because if they've been known to be a certain way for so long, so people have been like, for example, I've worked as a leader in IT for 20 years, and now I decide I want to open a cooking club. It will be so hard. It will be so hard for anyone to say, oh, I've been here for 20 years. You want to quit your IT job. So but people are going to judge it. And so people don't know. I was thinking about myself. I judge myself before other people even judge me. I'm like, what will people say? Well, but like, it's okay for me to change my mind. I could literally change my mind and nobody, and like, it's okay. I think more women should be able to, if we're able to overcome the challenge, and like, it's okay for us to change our mind. And is that success looks different for different people. And lastly, when we get to certain rooms, we should not feel like we're taking up space. We should be able to be authentic and speak up for ourselves.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't have much more to add. I agree with everything everyone said. It's all brilliant and so beautifully said as well. But I think it comes back really to a real basic that's been a problem and still is a problem and will continue to be a problem of flexibility. And let's be completely honest, as much as there is a lot of amazing stay-at-home dads or part-time dads, a lot of children, a lot of women who choose to have a family are restricted to what they can do because of their family. And I wouldn't change my family for anything. But I am restricted in the hours I do and the work I can do because of it. I'm okay with that, but it shouldn't be okay if a woman wants to continue in the profession she's in. I came out of teaching before I had children, but there's no way I would do primary school teaching with children. Anyone who knows a teacher will understand why. I won't go into my rant on that, but it's not okay to be told now you've got to be somewhere at a certain time to take care of people who cannot or not old enough to look after themselves, that you still don't want to be in the career that you chose to train for. Flexibility is not there, and so much change still needs to happen.
I think too, I really love that, Katie, because one of the things that's important to me is when we talk about equality for women, it's respecting our choices in that area too. Like it's okay if somebody wants to stop working and stay home and raise their family. It's okay if somebody wants to go to work and you know, and I think one of the things that always frustrates me is when we applaud men for like, oh, they're taking care of their kids and they're having a job. Whereas like with women, it's sort of like you're expected to do these things and you're not as applauded, right? And again, nothing against the men who do it, because I love that we can all have co-parenting relationships that are healthy and beneficial, and that would be equality. But we've just got to recognize that one choice isn't better than another in that area, right?
Yeah.
And so,
sorry.
and then some of us don't have a choice, right? So I was like, those who know my story, I had a baby when I was a teenager. I was in America. I had to work. Like, and I would get so judged for that. When people would be like, I'd never leave my kid with somebody else. And I'm like, I would love to not do
that's
that.
quite a American thing, because I remember we saw something recently and you said how different it is, and I was amazed at how judgmental that
Heather
is.
will correct me if I'm wrong, but my view is it's much more expected that still in America, much more than in other places, that the women should be the homemaker, and quite often you look after children completely, and that's your role completely, and nothing else is. That's quite expected.
Yeah, I think it's very regional. You know, obviously, you know, I wasn't married. I was a single mother, and that's a whole other level of judgment, right? And so, you know, but I think it is one of those where sometimes success is measured by the ability for a woman to stay home and take care of the children, right? And it's really interesting. It's really icky when I think about it, but it just depends. It depends on where you are. You know, I always say America's a big place, and different regions have very different cultural expectations around it. But in any event, you know, I hope that we get to a point where we're really just saying a woman should be able to have the flexibility and the choices that she wants, right? I'm going to ask one more question, and I love this question, and I think Emma, Annabelle, I think this is probably in your notes too, so you'll be better prepared. And you can cut that part if you want. Um, how this is so important to me. I talked earlier about my bestie and this intersectionality that occurs. So how do we ensure that all women, regardless of like across all races or social classes, abilities, identities, how are they included in these conversations? And I just say answer this in the way that feels right to you, but sometimes I do hear conversations that I realize you're not actually talking about all women. You're talking about a very specific group of women. How do we extend that and we make sure that all women are included in these conversations?
I think I know that Annabelle's answer is going to be absolutely outstanding. So I'm going to throw myself out there and then forget what I thought. I saw this question on the paper and was really uncertain about how on earth am I going to answer this. And I think I am privileged, right? I am a white woman in her 50s. I come from a working class background, but I'm probably more middle class now or heading that way. I don't have money problems. My kids are grown up. I have a lot of freedom. I actually think that for me, there's something around education and communication and awareness. I think it's about spreading the word somehow across all women. And I have very close family who are transgender and LGBT, and so I'm including them here as well. And I think there is something just about empowerment and but I also think that there are different issues, right? The issues that my family member face would be completely different for a woman of race or for a woman who's, living on benefits or for a woman, who's disabled. Or I don't know if there's one answer that stretches across all of the differences. So yeah, I think the things that I face in my career would be different from every single person on this podcast and across the world, just because I'm a different person. I'm unique.
Are you saying that it's quite difficult to answer that question because
I
everyone's
found this,
yeah.
I was sort of sat here thinking, how do we include more women in the conversation? Well, we invite them to it. And I think the only other thing I can think is, the only other thing that I did write down when I was thinking about this was that women have to raise other women up. Right, we have to do that work to raise other women up. When my very first job as a COBOL programmer, there was a woman who was a team leader, and she went out of her way to make sure that no other woman got as high up as she had. She was so proud that she was the only female team leader. It was like a thing, and she was mean. She was horrible to everybody. But it was almost like, she didn't want anyone else to take that glory from her. I think things have changed, but there was a lot of that in the early days.
A lot.
But then I would also say, right, that we also need people like John. We need male allies. If we're the only woman sat at that table, we need the man to go, actually, Emma said that a minute ago. Or actually, no, I think they want to say something. Can we give them the space to do it? Because I don't know if anyone else has been in that place where you say something and everyone acts like you just didn't even open your mouth, because that happens too. And I consider myself very lucky. I've not had a huge amount of misogyny. I've not had the whole Me Too experience. I think I've been very lucky, but it happens. I had one man get hold of my chin and move my head and say, "Yes, you'll do," in the middle of a job. I mean, it's just, Sarah's face. I left before I hit him, Sarah.
Yeah.
It was a close thing.
It is. And I will say, just because I think we're fairly close in age, there was a time when it was really bad, but I just can't even explain some of the stuff that happened to me in the workplace. Like now, if I heard it, I don't know what I would do. Like that, it was so acceptable.
Last year, something that had happened within the last 2 or 3 years, and I was horrified that those things were still happening.
Yeah.
And even, I've got a cousin who, she was Businesswoman of the Year about 2 or 3 years ago. She's 6'1", She's a tall, stunningly good-looking woman. She was an engineer and an accountant, and she walked on site in high heels as well, because why not? And
Why
was
not?
still completely blanked by the men that were there because it was an engineering firm. And so you sort of, you know, you sort of hear that it still happens, and you go, but how? So I
Yeah.
think it is about us standing up for each other, but also trying to find people that will stand up for us as
Yeah.
well and give us the space to exist.
to allow, and I am going to use Jill as an example, but to allow it to be okay for males to be a feminist as well.
Yeah.
That's allowed, and that's so powerful.
Oh.
That's one of the most powerful things that a man can do.
I remember in Paris when I.
So you really want to share this?
Okay. I think we should. I think we should. We were in Paris, and basically this Katie was like, after this, she's like, yeah, I know you're a keeper. She basically was on her period in Paris, and I went out to a shop and asked in French for some Tampax and brought it back. And I'm just not bothered about.
I had never experienced anything like, so I was like, "You're doing what?
You're not bothered about
You're
any
doing
of
what?
that. Like,
And then,
I don't get
did
it.
you know at that
Why?
moment, Katie?
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Did you know at that moment, Katie, that then you would be sitting on a podcast where your husband would talk about the time you had your period in town?
This reply that was the most interesting part, because I said, "You're going to do what?" He said, "Yeah, I'm not bothered at all." I was like, "Wow, okay, let's just see if he does this," and he did. And then I asked when he came back, I was like, "That's pretty amazing." He went, "Well, I was raised by she-wolves." I was like, "I don't like that."
I just want to say one more thing, but I still really do want to hear from Annabel. But it's something that John said earlier on, and it only just clicked in my head. But actually, this again is all just about kindness.
Yeah, right.
It
Is
is
that-
about
'cause
kindness.
My
Yeah.
my family member, who's the trans woman, has had so much hatred from other women, and there's this idea that, you know, that there are some women who actually are diminishing what it means to be a woman, or who are, you know, anti-feminist, or who are taking something away, and you just think, why can't we all just be kind to each
Yeah.
other? Actually, we're all human
Yeah.
beings, and
You're right.
yeah.
Come on then, Annabelle.
Thank
You've
you,
got
Annabelle.
a lot to up.
I go for it,
No
Annabelle.
pressure.
I think it's time for me to ask, and I'm like, oh. So the topic of inclusion is very, very special and peculiar. But what I would say is sometimes we're scared around those topics because it falls into two categories. There is one category that just match people together and say, oh, this is 10 people. Just put one Black person, one Asian person, two women.
Oh
That
my
purpose.
gosh.
And so they just mix and match to just like, somebody said something in a conversation I was having that most companies, you find that the HR are mainly female, and then you see men on technical position. And what I think is, if we really want to do inclusion, we would have the difficult conversations and would listen. It's very easy for us to assume and make assumptions. But if we don't really ask the difficult questions and get answers, and I want to shout out Eda a lot for this, is that Eda is not afraid to like be wrong. And so she would reach out to me and like she would ask me a question. And I'll be like, oh, how do Nigerians do this? Oh, how does this work? And some people might like shy away from asking me. But what's crazy, it actually makes me like, I'm actually happy that you are asking me that question related to me. It will never change that I am a Black woman. And I tell people a lot. It is who I am. It is what. But when you're my friend or when you know me, you even wanted to know that about me. It also gives me the idea that like you actually, and like you said about kindness, like you care. And so
Yeah.
how we are able to include more women, how we able to include more people in different ways is that we are able to have these conversations. We're able to ask them questions. We're able to listen. And the men are not left out because in positions that are held by men, if a woman wants to fill this position, she would need guidance and she would need someone to bring her in. So you speaking about men being feminist is true because a revolution will not be done by one set of people alone. Because the other party needs to also see the benefit that they get for them to really support you. And I also believe that the difficult conversations need to be had. We need to be able to have these conversations, and we need to also be able to accept that we might not get it right the first, but that's okay. We could try again.
Yeah.
Because when we are championing change or we are making progress in a certain way, there will be situations whereby we fall, but we pick up lessons from there and we keep on going. Because benefits of inclusion is so good, because when you are trying to do something global, for example, a company that's fully male-led, and then you find out that when you see you see an ad, and you know that an ad for women, and you know a woman was not involved in this. Because
Yes.
because you be like, a woman would clearly never do that. That's what they like, because it benefits, if more companies can see that the inclusion actually benefits them. More
Can I
situations
just say something that I
Yes.
noticed actually last week, because I saw a post that somebody had done, and I know the person. I'm not going to say who, but there was a post from another business outside of the Microsoft community, but had done a post to advertise an event, and the background was two white male hands like shaking hands, and straight away I was like, "What the fuck?" So I
Sarah,
just
I've been
wanted-
so
that's-
careful to not swear, and you just ruined the whole thing.
We don't get many complaints. So
No,
and
no.
me and
Every
Heather
once in
feel
a
like
while,
a
you're
tr-
just
me and
gonna-
Heather feel like a trooper.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, but I had to say, I noticed the first thing I noticed beyond the text, beyond the message, beyond what the event was that stood out to me
Yeah.
straight away. Sorry, Annabelle.
No, that's good, because even what we don't even see is sometimes when we just pick people and we don't give so much thought into it, like, oh, I'm just trying to fill an inclusion quota, or something that Hannah likes to point out that I've learned is that we're having conversation on inclusion, and the people who are trying to include, we don't have representatives of them there. This happens a lot. We're
She
talking
knows
about
this is like, it gets me so
we're talking
angry.
about bringing more women into a table, and this discussion is being done by a board of 10 men, talking about how can we include women more? How would you know how to include women more? Maybe not no
me on the
women that's
board.
speaking or debating. For example, I remember Sarah saying that women like to be approached. Women would want you to approach them, build a relationship before they speak. And I'm pretty sure the men have been saying all their while, like, women don't just submit application to speak. But the reason why is because you'd never had a woman there give you the explanation why women don't speak.
Yeah.
But because Sarah was there, it was easier for her to point it out. And we all could admit that, oh, yes, that's true. We like being approached. That's one of the ways of building this inclusion. The people we want to include, can we have representatives of those people there for them to advocate for more inclusion? And we should be able to have difficult conversation. We should be able to listen. And like Heather, we should be able to win. Heather just wins it. She says it, she expects it to correct her. And she's like, oh, thank you so much for that. I will put that consider it.
Yeah.
And like she it's funny because like you might think she's not afraid to make mistakes. And when I like, she was so happy to like have me on the team, and I was like, oh God, she just wants me to like, she was so passionate, like she was so passionate. And then I get to meet the team, and I saw how she spoke highly of me before I joined them. And they're like, oh, Heather said she saw like your qualifications, she really wanted you. And I'm like, this is actually amazing to have someone to advocate for you, not because they want to fit a quota, but because of the knowledge you have, because of who you are. And I think more people should like pick up on that.
She told me about you as well, actually.
It's like, Heather, if there was an award, I would give you one.
I think Heather, we probably need to wrap up now. I think.
I think so, but you know what, John? I really do. I want to hear, because we've talked a lot about you as an ally, though.
Okay. Yeah.
And I really do think, kind of know what you've done. We know that. I know if I'm on my period that I can send you to the shop. I'll be
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
John, help
Yeah,
me
we know
out.
that
Help
now.
me out. But
2 for 1 at the
What?
moment.
I think what I would want, if you're comfortable, what's something you're still working on in being an ally? What's something that you're conscious that you want to do better?
I think it's actually about it's actually probably about being more aware of women's safety. So I noticed a couple of years ago, when there was a lot of stuff going on with like Met Police and Sarah Everard and people like that. And I was watching the TV, and Katie was saying to me, that I would never really go out at night, or I would need to make sure that I had something on me if I was on at night, and I always walk like kind of where it's well lit and all this kind of stuff. And honestly, I'll be honest, I just didn't realize that.
A lot of men don't.
And I really didn't. I hold my hand up to it. I really didn't realize that. And we had like quite a frank conversation about it, didn't we? And just for me to kind of understand, for me walking out at night, honestly, I don't really think about it. I know, I'm quite a big guy, 6'3", but I don't. It's not even in my vicinity. It's not even in my mindset. So especially with the girls and with Katie, kind of understanding that a bit more, I think I do understand it better now, but it was quite eye-opening. I was like, oh, right, okay.
It's a lived experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
It is.
And there are things
It
that I do
is.
now, for example, like if I do go out at night and there's a woman in front of me and they're on their own, I will cross over the other side of the road,
You don't
or
walk so
I
fast.
don't, I don't walk. I really am quite aware that could potentially be threatening to them, even though, I'm not. But, I could run past them and say, need any Tampax or something. Maybe that. But yeah.
Please don't do that.
Anyway, thank you for asking that question.
That would send up the creep meter. I will say that would, but it would be a new experience. No, I think that's great, John, and I think it is one of those. I guess I sit here and I think sometimes didn't realize that men didn't know that. You know, like how do you know? How can you not know how
We
scary
don't
they
know.
are?
We
Like,
don't know they don't know that, and they don't know that we feel like that.
We
Yeah.
don't. I had this
Yeah.
conversation with a man during the whole Me Too movement and all the stuff that was going on, where I talked about the fact that, if a woman is out at night, she probably doesn't want to wear a ponytail. You taught
Yeah.
to keep your head up and look confident, not to walk with your head down. You don't want to
Yeah.
have anything. And he just said, yeah, but men can get attacked at night as well. And actually it's not really a thing. And the whole, his attitude was that there are men who are bullies and they'll bully other men as well as other women. And he just couldn't see it. And genuinely nice guy, genuinely, someone that you would trust and would help you and would be generous, but can't see it. And I think there's still that gap because they're just like, well, I could get mugged. Yeah,
I
that's
had a
different.
conversation. I'll keep it quick so I know we're wrapping up. But a friend of mine who's in the tech world, she's a triathlete, and her dad bought her a head torch for the winter. And this is her dad, so genuinely cares about safety. And she was like, I'm not going out running in the dark now. That's me until the spring. But yeah, just totally unaware that women feel like that.
Yeah.
But no, good for you, John. I really, really like that you've said that.
Thanks. So I think that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for everybody participating. Annabel, your answers were okay. I mean, we probably need to work on a little bit more. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Amazing co-hosting skills as always, Miss Perriam. Thank you very much. Whoop whoop.
We'll never ever do a 1-hour episode, will we? It'll always be like,
I don't know. Well, I know it's quite a long time for me and you, isn't it? It's like an era, like a whole epoch. Anyway, thank you very much for joining, and I'll
thanks
see you all
everybody.
next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.